Alright, so, the Loughner case kind of just hit the news recently, and conspiracy theorists, sort of believe that there was some conspiracy involved there, and another thing is perhaps Giffords is in fact faking her condition of being someone who survived a gunshot to the head. And I know that that is sort of touchy to suggest that, but I do know that in a corruption scenario, right, this is conspiracy theory, we're talking about high-level corruption, you can't really know who's a victim and who's guilty when it comes to collusion. So, I don't know whether or not her husband, are either victims or guilty of colluding. However, I would think it would be very unlikely that there would be a good incentive for wanting to fake the whole rest of your life that you have a brain injury. Now, the bullet apparently, or according to official accounts, hit her in the left side of the brain, which would, because it's crisscross, would affect the right side. And I'm going to show a video where this is her first reappearance, and you can obviously see that she has a very, very hard time controlling her leg, and her arm is obviously incapacitated. In fact, it's flaccid, and that's really important, because what I want to point out is that, first off, I have to say that when it comes to brain injury, it's way up in the air. The brain is plastic, which means that almost anything can happen. But I do want to say that what tends to happen in such traumatic brain injuries is that there's abnormal posturing rather than a very flaccid state. Now, flaccid state could occur, but I just want to show that it's occurring despite what is, I think, more likely to occur, which is a posturing. And here are some pictures of people who are expressing the form of posturing called decorticate, and that would be, as you can see, this flexion, this rigidity that occurs, and it primarily has to do with a certain set of muscles firing while other ones are not. And you could almost say that basically there's a confusion going on as a result of the injury to the brain, where other muscles, as you can see, Giffords is walking around, other muscles are firing, and it would misfire, and that would cause this rigidity rather than simply not fire at all. So from Giffords' state, you could say that, well, her muscles are not firing at all, and that's important, because for her muscles not to be firing at all, it would be sort of hard for that to occur, because it would be almost surgical at that point, where you're actually sort of affecting just the arm, because there's another effect that occurs as a result of brain injury, which is called hemi-neglect, or hemispatial neglect. And this is the result of not even being able to notice things on the side that the brain injury occurred, or in other words, on the opposite side, where you're having symptoms of the brain injury, you're not actually able to even notice things over there. There's actually just a very broad spectrum of problems you're going to have on that side. It wouldn't just be your arm. Now, here I guess are some pictures of people who had hemi-neglect, and they were attempting to hemispatial neglect, and they were attempting to draw something, and they couldn't do it. Someone very close to me has basically this problem as a result of a severe brain injury, and I kind of know what to expect out of a brain injury, but this is a gunshot wound. This is much more severe than just a stroke. And as you can see, other people who have severe brain injuries, they're in very, it's like, it is in fact possible to recover as a result of the brain being so plastic, but especially early on, they would be a very traumatic brain injury like a gunshot would, I just want to point out that she is in very good shape. I'm wondering how many neurologists out there would be very interested in how somebody was able to recover, because it is just absolutely amazing. I think it was like, I don't know, is this 3 or 6 months? I don't know when she showed back up, or when these ABC videos are being taken, which is still very good shape. Like especially having your eyes open at that time. That's very hard to have happen, I think. Okay, but like I say, it's really up in the air, and neurologists will tell you that. They'll say it's really just up in the air. But obviously, if there's a lot of brain damage, there's obviously going to be a lot of symptoms. So let me just point out that what we don't see is hemi-neglect from her, or hemispatial neglect. She's very easily noticing things on that side. She's actually able to turn. She turns very quickly, reacts very quickly to that side. She can hear things. People actually have a hard time hearing things from that side. And that I think helps back up the fact that that she might be faking it. And when I say she's faking it, it's almost like I'm kind of leaving up for debate, like she's being forced to fake it. So please do not think that I'm accusing her. I'm literally just sort of positing this could be a very bad situation where she is being forced into this, and thus it is a very scary scenario. So so whenever how she's not posturing, and how she obviously has she doesn't experience hemi-neglect. It's obviously hemi-neglect of the arm, but not to such an extent that it's everything. Now she does have, according to this video, she's limping on her leg, like she has a hard time with her leg, but the fact that she's able to stand on it, that's a really big deal. It's almost like, what I'm trying to say is that the people who coached her did not have a good grasp, other than to say, okay, you're not going to be able to use one side of your body. And so their response to that was, let's just make sure that she just stays limp. The problem is that it's not consistent with what normally happens. And what normally happens is you get if you're having this hemi-neglect, you're going to have more than just your arm and your leg aren't being used. You're going to have a problem turning your head. In fact, your head's more likely to crimp up and look off, and stay focused on the other side, the side that it can pay attention to. You're going to have a hard time noticing somebody, and in fact, you're going to have a hard time smiling, because one side of your face will be paralyzed. And but what I want to say is that this is something to look out for. Those people, the first thing that hits you, any normal person, is, I can't believe she survived a gunshot wound to the head. I mean, I don't know how often that happens. I haven't looked into it. I'm sure that there's always wild cards out there, but that's the first thing you're going to have to face. Is like, yes, I believe the story that she was, that she survived a gunshot wound to the head. The next thing is, do I believe that she has this, somewhat rare instance of just only flaccidity in her arm? I mean, because she's obviously using her right leg enough to be able to stand on it. I mean, you can't do that if your right leg is flaccid. And not only that, why is it flaccid rather than posturing? And why is her face pretty much still symmetrical, and she's able to notice things on that side? And I'm expecting people to say, well, this is the brain and it's still not well known. Well, yes, that's true, but this is a matter of inference, not deduction here. And statistically, which means statistically, statistically, the odds are kind of in the favor of the conspiracy theorists, basically, because it would be kind of hard for those things to line up, and to be in such a good in such good shape after a gunshot wound to the head.